Hello, my name is Paul. I am Wendy's husband, Dax and Alex's dad, if you've met him. Wendy gave the lesson last week. So I was thinking about today's Sunday school lesson and thinking about the situation that we're in at the moment. It seems ironic that the social distancing that we're all having to practice has actually forced us together with our families. We're actually spending more time closer to our families. And at this point, I think some are, even though they love their family, thinking that maybe this is too much of a good thing. And it's possible that our families are also figuring out that we may not be perfect, that we might have some flaws if they didn't already know that. For many people, if not most, our greatest fear is that someone will find out who we really are, who will expose us for the fraud that we are, and the truth will come out. And when a person or people find out who we are, they won't accept us. They'll reject us. They'll deem us unworthy of their friendship, of their concern. We're afraid that, like in Daniel, even God will come down and write on the wall and say, "You've been weighed, you've been measured, and you've been found lacking." Our greatest desire is often the opposite. Is actually not just a desire, it's a need. We need to feel accepted. We need to feel loved and cherished for who we are. It's more than just an unconditional acceptance. We want to be valued. We want to have worth, and we want to matter to someone. And we often go to great lengths to prove that we are worthwhile, that we have value. We put on our Sunday best. We play roles that we think other people want us to play. We hide our weaknesses and faults, and we deny we had them, even in a court of law. And worse, we even put other people down and declare their flaws just to try to make our own worth look better. Jesus, when he addressed the woman at the well, said to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." Now, the woman, like most of us, had a choice of 2 responses. Either she gets mad or she obfuscates and redirects, and she chooses to change the subject and go on to some religious practice questions. But Jesus, in this passage, isn't trying to demean her. He is actually speaking the truth in love. And not only that, he is offering the woman living water at the well. He's offering the woman himself, and himself as the Messiah. And I think the woman recognizes this, because she leaves, goes into town, and tells all the people, "Come see a man who told me all that I ever did. Can this be the Christ?" For me, that's not a normal response if somebody criticizes me, to go find other people who probably know some of the issues I've had and bring them back to the guy who can tell them the rest. So, it's a tribute to Jesus that he could say that about her, and her actually want to tell others. I've spent a good time in the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13, and there are many insights and layers in that chapter, much of which I don't understand or practice well. I'd like us to look at a less often quoted portion of that chapter, It says, love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. Now, this is just a transition sentence. It's kind of ending one concept, beginning another. It's a segue, but I think it has a deeper meaning to it. It's comparing what love is and what love is not. Now, this sentence, for whatever reason, bothered me because to me, truth and evil are not opposites. But if you look up the words, the Greek can also be translated, for the evil can be translated as falsehood or deceit. And to me, that makes more sense because truth and falsehood or deceit, they really are opposites. So that's the gospel according to Paul this morning. But why would that be an important distinction for us? For me, it changes the message completely. It changes the message from love the sinner, hate the sin, to a message of love doesn't want you to put your mask on, doesn't want you to pretend to be anything that you're not. Love delights in knowing the real you. And how many of us show that? And how many of you feel that you have ever received that type of love? In Romans, we read that God demonstrates his love for us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And in John, we read, greater love has no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friends. So in other words, God, the judge of the universe, creator, omnipotent, the greatest being ever, and the only opinion that really counts about us, performed the greatest demonstration of love for us when we were or are at our worst. He didn't do this because he knew we could become worthwhile. He did it because he valued us in our broken state more than his own suffering and life. So he marked us as priceless. And that means at least two things. One, our value or our worth is not something that we earn. It's a gift, and it can't be taken away. Which is similar to our righteousness that we get also as a gift. And two, if we can internalize this message, we can be free from our greatest fear. And I believe this is what John was describing in 1 John when he said, there is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear. Can you imagine being free from fear? Free from hiding, free from pretending, from trying to impress others, even free from judging others in an attempt to elevate our own perceived self-worth. Then the end of the love chapter has greater meaning to us. Now we see but a dim reflection, as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. First, mirrors at that time weren't like the ones we have today. They were hammered metal. And as you might imagine, that doesn't give quite a perfect reflection. And secondly, the lighting of that day was either daylight or candlelight, firelight. So when he's talking about a dim reflection in a mirror, that's because that's what they got from their mirrors. He said, then we shall see face to face. So the question is, what do you see when you look in the mirror? Probably the same thing I see when I'm looking at this video camera, I see myself. Not particularly fond of that, as a matter of fact. But without love, that's really what we're focusing on, is we're focusing on ourselves, on our fear, on our needs. But once we allow love to enter us, and once we can internalize the worth, the acceptance, the love that God has given to us, we can get out of our own way and see face to face. We can see others around us. And not only that, we can see the value of the others around us. And we'll want to know the truth about them. We'll want them to show us their true self. The hardest part about fixing a problem is defining the problem. And in many problems, it's disguised. It's much harder to solve a problem or get to know something if it's disguised, if you're given false information. And when we love others, it is much more difficult to offer true love and in a way that they can feel, that they can understand, if we don't know the truth about them. So it's important, for us to know the truth and not judge them, just as Jesus didn't judge the woman at the well. But it's also important that they feel comfortable giving us that truth. That's part of us not having to judge them. But can you imagine that we'll want other people to know the truth about us and be glad, as it says, I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And for us, with God, the fully known is not something in the future. God already knows us. He knows more than we know about ourselves. And He's assigned us this value, this priceless nature that, to me, is really the biggest question on love. Why? Why does He find us this valuable? Even in our messed up state. But if we can accept that, then maybe we can find the value that God sees in others, and we will be able to not only accept love, but be able to love those around us the way that God does. I hope you guys have had a good week, and I hope you either learned or enjoyed something about this lesson. Have a nice day.